It's a beautiful, warm, sunny morning greeting the runners and the Blancpain GT Sports Club for the second of the two races at MISANO World Circuit on the Adriatic coast of Italy. 45 minutes of racing ahead. Yesterday, Christian Hook took the honours for Rinaldi Racing, looking to make it a double, but Jens-Rino Moller leading the attack in the Honda. He's the driver who won the first two rounds of the series this year, the first two races at Monza in April, but air conditions much warmer, 25 degrees, track temperature keeps on rising through the day. Let's see what it is at this early stage in the morning. 9:35 it is, and it's as cool as it will be. But the blessing yesterday, Friday was a baking hot day. The blessing yesterday was the fact that we had a breeze. There, with that brilliant start to the season, Jens-Rino Moller, the Honda racer, 82 points in the lead of the championship. Sultan super consistent, up to 70. Gordoni third on 60. Lee Mole crashed out of the race yesterday, brought out the red flag, but still was able to take second place, so he gets the points for that, which keeps him in fourth place overall. But having started the year late, Christian Hook arrived here, took pole yesterday, took victory yesterday with fastest lap, so clearly hitting the ground running in the bright green Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. You can see it there on the left-hand side of the screen. Alongside on the front row, the Honda NSX has made such an impact for Renault Racing this year. Jens-Rino on board. And certainly conditions cooler than they were when they set out to race yesterday afternoon. Couple of spins for Jens-Rino. Muller yesterday dropped him down the order. The speed is there. Whether he's got the speed to match Christian Hook remains to be seen, because once the Rinaldi Ferrari was in front, nobody could get close to it, and eventually went on to win. Well, the thing is, Lee Mole got on towards his tail, was really closing in the final few laps. Tyres were getting a bit tired. Then out of the final corner, the white Mercedes spun out, came across the track, hit the pit wall, but always Christian Hook looked to have just enough in hand. It was getting tighter towards the end, but I think everything was under control from the German racer in that green Ferrari that he shares with Manuel Lauck and Stephen Parrow. But it's his this weekend, so Christian Hook on pole for Rinaldi Racing, Jens-Rino Muller alongside in the Renault Racing Honda NSX. And unfortunately, clearly damaged too bad to the ERC Motorsport Mercedes that Mole put into the pit wall, so that will not be starting. So just one car on the second row, and that, of course, is Mario Gordoni's AF Corsa Ferrari, number 51 on the right-hand side of your screen. Mullet Sultan, car number 23, Kessel Racing Ferrari, and Coach McKenzie, such a backbone of this championship. The Blancpain GT Sports Club, almost always here with a bright green Lamborghini with black tiger stripes upon its flanks. And racing for the pride of Sri Lanka, Dilanta Guha, that's the second of the Lamborghinis, alongside Pavel Strukov in his Ferrari. And then Louis-Philippe Sonnen leading all the Iron Class runners for the drivers over 60 at the back of the grid. Louis-Philippe Sonnen and Stephen Earle, the irrepressible Stephen Earle, the American surgeon. Then the back row, Rick Lovett, who was leading the class yesterday until a clash with Earle down at turn 14. And Howard Blank bring up the rear of the grid. Conditions as cool as they've been for days here, but the day is still warming up. It's a beautiful summer's morning here at MISANO. Countdown to the start. So 11 cars coming out to play today. Already you can see a slight heat haze. It's clearly going to get a whole lot warmer. And the phalanxes of cyclists who go out on weekend mornings, they were coming back from their rides at about 7:30. They're quite wise, don't want to be riding in the heat of the day, but there were hundreds of them on the roads on this coastal strip on the Adriatic coast. But here is our pole man, Christian Hook. Got out, looked cool, calm and collected. Acknowledged he had a fight yesterday, but always seemed to me that had things under control. Lee Mole might have fancied his chances, certainly did fancy his chances, and it's a big shame the lone Mercedes in this Blancpain GT Sports Club grid is not here today. But the grid is now cleared. We're set for 45 minutes of racing. Of course, a formation lap to set it all off, taking the final look at the cars up close. And now they'll get the signal and be flagged away, and hopefully they'll all get away, go round, just get a feel for the grip. We had racing until 11 o'clock last night, finishing off with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo European Championship, and a very different feeling at night. And the good thing was the temperature did start to drop. So 15 seconds until the formation lap will be underway. That will be at 9:40. We'll come round, take the rolling start, and then see where we go from there. But it's a Ferrari Honda front row. Certainly the Honda NSX is a relative newcomer in GT terms. Only it's came into the European scene at the Spa 24 Hours a couple of years ago. Yet to gain the popularity of some of the rivals, but the Honda NSX, if you think all the way back to its introduction in the late 1980s, absolutely brilliant car. lot of people felt a little snobbish about it because it wasn't a Ferrari or it wasn't a Lamborghini, but it really made all the other manufacturers sit up and pay attention. It brought a new level of handling, famously with Ayrton Senna setting out to do a little bit of work for Honda. In fact, I don't think it was an enormous amount, but the NSX, always a sweet car to drive, and certainly Sirena Molla finding that very much to be the case in racing trim. So there's the championship again. Sirena Molla in that black Honda just going across the screen, leading the championship from Murat Sultanov. Mario Gordoni. Lee Mole will not be adding to his pile of points because he is not starting the race, which means Coach McCanty should be able to overtake him, move up the championship positions up to about 4th, maybe even 3rd. We'll see how Coach gets on in that bright green Lamborghini. MISANO. 16 turns crammed into 4.226 kilometres. An infield straight, a very short start-finish straight, but the main straight is out from turn 10 through kinks at 11, 12 and 13, a corner that caught out driver after driver yesterday, and then into a hairpin at 14. But the main straight, the one most important to get your power down early for, is the one out of turn 10. Right now they're going to the hairpin at turn 8. Turn 7 is the kink under the Blancpain liveried bridge. Lots of runoff at turn 8, and quite a few drivers using all of it and the gravel track beyond through yesterday's packed agenda of racing. A little right-hand kink at turn 9, just unsettling the cars if they're not fully adhered to the circuit, and then into turn 10, the hairpin. A little bit of shade will be coming across the track in the early evening, but we'll be done by then, don't you worry. It's a full day of racing here at MISANO. 2 full days of racing, party atmosphere last night in the paddock, a party on top of the pit buildings, so great level of hospitality. It couldn't have felt more Mediterranean if it had tried. So today, this morning, it's about the first time the drivers have had to really need to get a bit of heat into the tyres. It's a warm day and warming literally by the moment, but yesterday almost they wanted to keep the heat out of their tyres, such was the level of prevalent heat. One of the easiest cars to pick out is the black and dark blue Ferrari from Steel F Squadra Corsa, driven by Pavel Strukov. He's starting 8th on the grid, which automatically, with the loss of Lee Mole, not starting after his crash at the end of yesterday's race. I can still see the tyre marks that come across right into the barriers, literally under the feet of my commentary box. Got it wrong out of turn 16, that left-hander. So many drivers go out over the curbs, and then if you just dip a wheel in the gravel trap, it suddenly snaps the car around, and for the British racer, there was nothing more he could do but brace himself. Just to run you down the grid order as they come towards the end of the formation lap. Christian Hook in the green Ferrari at the front of the queue. Sirena Molla in the black Honda. Then missing Lee Mole's white Mercedes. So the 3rd car in the line is the red Ferrari of Mario Gordoni. 2x2 formation as they go out of turn 15. The final corners to come. The pace car has pulled into pit lane around the corner, looking for the lights on the starting gantry. 2x2 they should be, 2x2 they are, and it's a longer hold than some at the front. Thought it might be. Looks like Christian Hook has just got half a car length's advantage. He's on the right line to go into the first corner. Oh dear, Murat Sultanov being given a bit of a shove towards the grass on the start-finish straight. First 2 already made their break. Coach McCanty looks like he's picking up position. Yep, up into 5th, Murat Sultanov down into 6th. So all very tidy at the start of the race. Guha in the blue Lamborghini trying his best to get onto the tail of the car in front. Sultanov back in position though, just goes across his bows at turn number 4. Very clean, very tidy start to the Blancpain GT Sports Club race here at MISANO World Circuit. Car 23, that's Murat Sultanov trying to take the shortest line around the circuit through turn 6, down the kink straight on the infield. The next corner, the first 2 way clear already. Christian Hook and Sirena Molla. Mario Gordoni has not been able to live with their pace at all, and he's got Coach McCanty all over his tail in the battle for 3rd position. And Stephen Earle has already moved to the front of the queue in the Iron Cup class at the rear of the field as Coach McCanty continues to fight with Sultanov. In fact, Louis-Philippe Solon, who was on a provisional pole, well, pole you should say, for the Iron Cup class, has dropped to the tail of the pack. He's gone down to 12th place. Well, 11th, of course, we're missing Lee Mole. So tidy start from Christian Hook, did just enough to keep Sirena Molla behind him and everyone else running line astern. But already the gap is about 3 seconds between the first duo and Mario Gordoni et al., who are running nose to tail behind him. Stephen Earle in that red Ferrari on the tail of Pavel Strukov, so the Iron Cup charger, has dropped all his classmates. They're some distance behind, so Stephen Earle, brilliant start for the surgeon from the United States, keeping with the quicker guys. Then there's the gap behind him. First to second, though, under a second, 0.555 of a second. Christian Hook, Jens-Reiner Moller having a far better run today. Don't forget, the Dane spun not once but twice yesterday, 2 recovery drives, and still could only pick his way forward to 8th overall. Certainly dented his championship hopes, but he's still clear on points. With Christian Hook, who could, if he takes the win this morning, take maximum points from here. He's only started the championship at MISANO. He didn't do Monza, he didn't do Paul Ricard. Jens-Reiner Moller is getting closer. He took 0.2 of a second out of the race leader. Louis-Philippe Sonnen unfortunately dropped to the back of the Iron Cup class. He's reported into the pits. I can't see into the pit lane, so I can't tell you what is happening down there. Whether he's picked up a puncture, which is probably the most likely reason after one lap, we will see. Christian Hook, though, continues to lead the race. There is the leading Iron Cup runner, Stephen Earle, sticking with Pavel Strukov. He's running in 8th place overall. Mario Gordoni is not dropping those behind. Murat Sultan in the black Ferrari with the red and yellow stripes around the nose is sticking right with him. And in behind, Coach McKenzie's not letting any of them get away. Alamo Guha is on the tail of that pack. Pavel Strukov and then Stephen Earle, less than a second between each of those cars. The number 17 Lamborghini, there it is, in 5th place overall. And unfortunately, the first to tumble, Pavel Strukov having a little bit of a rotation there. He will rejoin, but that will drop him right down towards the tail of the field. That was down at the turn 14 hairpin. First and second are getting closer and closer. It's 0.55 of a second. It looks like it's half of that. Let's see, 0.221. It's 40% of that. So Jens-Reiner Moller, yesterday was not sweet, but maybe in the cooler conditions today, he's feeling far happier with his Honda. Oh, very, very twitchy. And through turn 2, he nearly dropped it. So down in the pits, Louis-Philippe Sonnen. Can't see what the problem is. Doesn't appear to be a puncture. Maybe it's some problem within the cockpit. Have his belts popped out? No. No, they're checking instruments and the engine cover off. Obviously, any heat needs to be got away, but maybe an electrical problem. But something, he started in the Iron Cup class lead and was very quickly at the back of the pack, and then unfortunately into the pit lane. Now what I sense with Pavel Strukov having had his little moment, the pack behind is starting to break up. Christian Hook still leading the race. Jens-Reiner Moller got to within 1/5 of a second and then fell back. Now the Lamborghinis are fighting together. Coach McKenzie, I think, might have made a bit of a slip up. He's gone back towards Alamo Guha. Green ahead of blue. Will it stay that way? Certainly the Sri Lankan racer is looking very feisty indeed this morning. Stephen Earle staying with the pack as well. Of course, he's ahead of Pavel Strukov, who had that spin. Coach McKenzie being chased super hard, 5th and 6th positions. Alamo Guha right with him now. And one senses around this lap, that little mistake out of turn 2 has lost momentum for Jens-Reiner Moller. Can he get back onto the tail of Christian Hook? I mean, we're talking probably a gap of only half a second, but he got it down to 0.2 of a second. First to second, yeah, looks about that as they go round to complete the end of lap number 3. I think it might be out to half a second again. And there is Gordoni in 3rd, and then the Murat Sultanov, and then those 2 Lamborghinis, 5th and 6th, in Coach McKenzie and Alamo Guha's hands. But for Louis-Philippe Sonnen, there is no change at all at the moment. When the laptops come out, you know it's going to be an electrical problem, an engine issue, an engine management issue most likely. And that is needing to be sorted. And right now, clearly any chance of a good haul of points is gone, but it's all about racing. So he's going to hopefully keep his fingers crossed and get back out there onto the circuit. First to second, 0.7 of a second now, Christian Hook. But then it's been a better start to this lap, because certainly catching him now is Jens-Reiner Moller, and catching the 2 of them is Mario Gordoni. He had that slow start, started 3rd and was 3rd, but the first 2 got away. He took his time, he resisted all challenges from behind him, and now is starting to close in. In fact, he just set the fastest first sector of the lap of any of the drivers in the field. So Mario Gordoni is playing the longer game. It's a 45-minute race. It is going to heat their tyres up a lot as the temperature is rising all the time. But what was a 2-way battle for the lead is very soon going to be a 3-way. Mullet Sultan running around behind. I sense, in fact, the Lamborghinis are starting to catch him. Jump start for car 51. Oh no, the driver who's just done all the work, Mario Gordoni, and it didn't do him any good. He didn't move into the lead from third position. But he obviously went before the lights turned from red to green on the starting gantry, so scratch Mario Gordoni, the driver who has just set the fastest lap of the race and is going faster still this time around. What a change, a shame, and we can see him about to dive. I think he's just diving straight into the pit lane. So just as he did all the hard work, he's got to do it all over again. So what the two that were becoming 3 revert to 2, and it's getting closer and closer again. 0.7 of a second becomes 0.3, the gap between Christian Hook and the chasing Honda racer, Sirena Mullet. Much better line through turn 2 this time. That was the corner where the Dane lost momentum a couple of laps ago, but he's got all that momentum back, finding his way onto the tail of the Rinaldi racing Ferrari. Big shame for Mario Gordoni. There he comes through to serve his drive-through penalty, and it's worth pointing out that here at MISANO, it's a very, very long pit exit in particular. Pit in is average length, but pit out seems to go on forever. Then you rejoin the circuit just after turn 3. And instead of being the red Ferrari closing in on them, it's Mullet Sultan now in third place, the black Ferrari with red and yellow markings on its nose. He isn't able to match their pace. He's about, last time around, in fact, he was 2 tenths down on the race leader. But the better lap was Sirena Mullet, who was 3 tenths quicker. So there's Russian racer Mullet Sultan for Kessel Racing. Therefore, the Lamborghini battle still really, really tight between them. And in fact, last time it was 7 tenths of a second, but 4th and 5th now for Coach McKenzie and Dilanta Malaghamua. And the red Ferrari in the background leading the Iron Cup class with ease. Stephen Earle in 111. His next rival is Howard Blank, who is a good dozen seconds behind. And I understand that it was a case of not driving. You have to drive in line at the start over the markings of the grid boxes, and it seems it wasn't a case of jumping the start. It was running not in the straight line required of him. That's why we've had the drive-through penalty for Mario Gordoni. So he's down in the 8th position, ahead of Howard Blank, but in fact, let's see how he can pick his way forward from there. Still Christian Hook leading the race. Still Sirena Mullet seeing if he can get his Honda in front of the Rinaldi racing Ferrari. It's not for want of trying. At turn 4 and 5, where the track really tightens up through the kink at 6. Little kink under the bridge there at counts as turn 7. Really, the drivers don't even notice it as a corner. Then into the hairpin at turn 8. 56 goes for a spin. That's Howard Blank, unfortunately. 10th place. He's gone for a tour. Now he's pointing the right way all over again, so the American racer will wind it up to speed and carry on as before. This is a replay of what happened. Car number 12 giving chase, Rick Lovett, and Rick had to take a wider line because perhaps in trying to resist it, maybe looking in his mirrors, maybe brake too late, but Howard Blank couldn't get the car pointed the way he wanted it to. Long shot down the back straight, showing us the top 5, 5th place. Oh, in fact, we've had a change of position. Dilanta Malaghamua has just moved blue ahead of green, so he's moved ahead of Coach McKenzie. I was so busy looking at the replay of the spin that I missed how that happened, but the Sri Lankan race has been trying for lap after lap, and it shows the progress he's making, because in recent years, Coach McKenzie's been the best Lamborghini driver in the series and has made remarkable strides, but today, Dilanta is the driver who's put his nose in front. Looks though Coach McKenzie doesn't fancy staying behind us. So we're 10 minutes into this 45-minute race. The gap between first and second is a 1/5 of a second. That's all it is. Down to turn 1, you can see the green Ferrari from Christian Hook, Sirena Mullet in behind. Mullet Sultan is running some good laps now. He's matching, if not closing, on those ahead in 3rd place. So the Kessel racer getting a good run underneath his tyres. And now, of course, Dilanta Malaghamua was promoted from 6th to 5th when we had Mario Gordoni being called in for a drive-through penalty, and in his own right, he's moved up into 4th place. Heading for a podium, perhaps, but let's see. What's the gap? Well, it's quite a gap, actually, between Mullet Sultanov's Ferrari. And it's 3 seconds back to Malaghamua in 4th place. Turn 8. Has Christian Hook got this race under control? What we're seeing is Sirena Mullet getting in close. This lap, it looks so he's actually dropped back a tiny bit. Yes, he has. He dropped back 1500ths of a second. I know we're dealing in tiny, tiny fractions, but taking different lines now. And what we saw yesterday was those who kept their tyres, were gentle on their tyres, had big benefits later in the race. It's not as hot this morning, but yesterday's race was 35 minutes, today's 45, so it's probably very much the same sort of game. Just keeping an eye out on the progress or otherwise of Mario Gordoni. Don't forget he was third, and he was catching this Ferrari-Honda combination when he was called in for his drive-through penalty. Down in ninth, he's matching their pace to within a tenth of a second, but ninth is not where Mario comes traditionally in Blancpain GT Sports Club's races. Just having a look at this, yes, a big mistake down at 13. I sensed that Christian Hook was starting to take, sorry, not Christian Hook, Jens Reiner starting to take different lines. That was one he didn't intend to take. I'm beginning to think his chase has maybe taken more out of his rubber than he'd hoped for, because he certainly dropped back a little bit. He's over a second down now, 1.067 seconds. I think the fight is still there, but he was trying different lines, maybe just trying to see where his tyres would behave as he wanted to, but he's been looser, certainly, through this race on his rubber than the race leader, Christian Hook. And again, off the circuit and rejoining. Maybe he's trying to take these wider lines, not to take so much out of his tyres, but getting all the dirt and dust onto the black stuff. I'll actually start to sense that Sultan is starting to close on him. This Lamborghini battle looks like it's going to run all the way to the end of the race. Covered by just 0.3 of a second between Malagamua and Coach McCanty. So still Jens Reiner Mullet, never say never, never say die. He is closing in all over again. But Coach at the front of the field, certainly seems Christian Hook is running a very, very smooth race indeed. Then again, yesterday he ran a smooth race, and towards the end of the race, he had the attack from Lee Mole. Lee was getting closer and closer. Mario Gordoni was not far behind either. Brought to a conclusion a lap or so early when Lee Mole dropped it out of the final corner and clattered into the pit barrier. This is the recovering 777. Pavel Strukov went for a spin early in the race, running around in 7th place now, trying to hunt down, catch up with Stephen Earl. Running in different classes, of course, because Stephen is 6th place overall, but he's the Iron Cup leader, and he's 15, 16 seconds clear of Rick Lovett, the next best in the Iron Cup class, in the number 12 Ferrari. It's one of two from Kessel Racing. There is Stephen Earl leading the Iron Cup. And he is being caught, certainly by Pavel Strukov. Strukov was ahead of him, had that spin, and is now trying to catch the American all over again. But for now, it's 6th place for Stephen Earl. Just over half an hour ago. Looking for the gaps, first to second, still 1.1 seconds. That was the start of the lap, and it's down to 0.7 of a second. So the early part of the lap, in the first sector alone, the Honda racer Jens Reiner Mullet has gained 0.4 of a second. We're looking back at the battle for 6th place. Stephen Earl, a leading Iron Cup, certainly catching him, gained a second and a half last time around. Pavel Strukov in 777. It's the car entered by Stilev Squadra Corse. Confident to take the tighter line into turn 8. Stephen Earl maybe playing the wiser game, wider in, tidier on the exit, whereas it's tight in, wide going out towards the curbs for the Russian racer behind. Fastest driver on the track, car number 51, just set the fastest lap last time around. That's Mario Gordoni. He served that drive-through penalty. Next car he'll catch will be the number 12 Ferrari. Rick Lovett should do that on this lap, should pass him on this lap. About halfway around the course, should be coming down towards turn 8 very soon. First to second, 1.1 seconds at the start of the lap. We saw it came down to 0.7. Past my commentary box at the start of the start-finish straight. It looks like it's going to be down about to 0.7 all over again, I would suggest, of a second. 0.731, yes, my eyes did not deceive me. Jens Reiner Mullet has not given up. He's had those couple of moments when he's run off the track. But for now, it's back to 7th place for Stephen Earl. The attack from Pavel Strukov paid off. And the Russian racer went past the American. There's Mario Gordoni. That was incredibly polite of Rick Lovett. Knew that he spotted that Gordoni was way faster and pulled to the edge of the circuit, let him through. So, well done. Almost gave him a case of shock. Very few drivers are that polite out on the circuit, but we expect those levels in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. These are great friends who come racing on brilliant circuits around Europe. And Rick Lovett, yeah, very, very gentlemanly behaviour from the Canadian. First to second, 0.7 of a second. First part of this lap, another 1/10 of a second gained by the chasing Honda. Jens Reiner Mullet, there he is closer and closer. Much tidier exit from some of the tighter corners than we've seen earlier in the race. I think the confidence is coming back, but to look in behind, Sultan is not being dropped. nor the Lamborghinis particularly. They're all lapping very similar lap times, the top 5 runners. And quicker than all of them is Mario Gordoni, now up into 8th place, as we saw just a few moments ago. So it's far from a clear conclusion. Louis-Philippe Sonnen sadly still in the pit lane. He came in at the end of lap 1. They've had the laptop out, checking some engine management issue, and he has not got to go back out. So the Belgian probably fuming away in the pits. You don't come here not to race. First or second, it's coming down. Honda engine, I'm going to listen to that next time around. It sounded a little bit flat as it came past me. Very different engine note, of course, to the Ferrari that's leading the race. And then the Lamborghinis come past with another wail entirely. If the engine flat, he's gained a 1/10 of a second or so. 0.676 of a second is the gap between the first two, between Christian Hook leading in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari and Jens Rinaldi for Rena Racing. Ferrari ahead of Honda. It's relentless pursuit in this battle for first place. Hasn't been a crack. We got the lowest gap, the smallest gap we had between them was 0.2 of a second. Then the very next moment, a little switch from Jens Rinaldi, and unfortunately a lot of that momentum went away. Not yet even at the halfway point in this 45-minute race, so it's still about keeping your tyres with as much life as possible for the remainder of the race. I sense it's been a better middle sector to the lap this time around from the race leader, from Christian Hook, waiting for confirmation as they complete the second sector, which they will do any second now. And he gained, well, yeah, nearly 4/10 of a second, a third of a second and more was gained by the race leader through the middle sector of the circuit. Now they're onto the third sector. Through the fast kinks. Pavel Strukov, the driver who spun the black Ferrari with the blue stripe up in the middle. We saw him overtake the Iron Cup leader Steve Earle a moment ago. He's just set the fastest first sector of anyone. He is now matching the pace of the very front runners, which makes his spin all the more frustrating for the driver of the Stilev Squadra Corsa car. He's dropped Stephen Earle, as you can see, by well, enormous chunks he's cut out of him. 1.6, 2.6, 1 second over the last few laps. That's why he's moved ahead and really putting up some strong lap times, but he's got a big gap to Coach McAnsey in 5th place. There comes Strukov and Earle down the start-finish straight. Black ahead of red in that Ferrari battle. How far is Pavel Strukov behind Coach McAnsey in his hope for 5th place? Well, he's got to find 13.5 seconds if he wants to go up to 5th. But Strukov is putting in some good lap times there. His lap time was faster than the race leader. Only two drivers on track faster than him. One was Coach McAnsey, and the other was the driver in 3rd place, Murat Sultanov. Car 51, Mario Gordoni, 12 and a bit seconds down on Stephen Earle, but taking chunks out of him, as you can see, the last handful of laps. So the driver who got up to 3rd place had to serve that drive-through penalty, is fighting back, but he's going to have quite a few laps, about, let's see his lap times. Could be 5 or 6 laps until he gets on the tail of Stephen Earle. Stephen will be wise though, he'll have a little play, but he knows he's running for Iron Cup honours. He's leading that Cup class for drivers 60 upwards. There is Stephen, stem cell surgeon of international, global repute. And in the background, here comes Mario Gordoni. So it was 12.6 seconds, and you can be sure it'll be down closer to 10 seconds, the difference between Stephen Earle in 7th place and Mario Gordoni in 8th by the end of this lap. Yeah, Gordoni's running some absolutely beautiful lines, really making that Ferrari flow. He knows the Ferrari 488 very well indeed. This battle is one that doesn't give up, does it? Suddenly, Coach McAnsey in the green Lamborghini is getting back right off the tail of Dylan Malamagua. And right, just discovered what we expected. It is an electrical problem down. Oh dear, mistake from Dylan Malamagua. Louis-Philippe Sonnen, they can't get the car to start, so it's stuck in the pit lane. That Ferrari, big disappointment for the Belgian racer. No disappointment at all for Coach McAnsey. He's got to race. This is why these drivers come out, not just to drive around circuits, but to race. But for now, down into turn 8 they go. The leading Lamborghini is still Dylan Malamagua. He made the passing manoeuvre early in the race. Oh, you sense the speed is now with Coach McAnsey. Looks one way, looks the other. They've got the kink Right-hand kink at turn 9, not close enough to get his nose up the inside, but it's all about not compromising your braking into turn 10. It's the hairpin, get a good exit. You've got the long straight with the 3 kinks in it all the way down to turn 14. And the Sri Lankan did it slightly better than the German. So Malagamua keeps his blue Lamborghini still in front of the green Lamborghini of Coach Mackenzie. 4th and 5th. What a great scrap. We're dealing in fractions of a second. If you look over the last few laps, one gains, one loses. We're talking a 10th of a second here, 10th of a second there. Better lap in second place for Jens Reiner-Moller, who was 1.5 seconds down last time around. Just crossed the start-finish line to start lap number 14. It's down to 0.78 of a second, so as good as half that. And the fastest lap of the race was the chaser. Suddenly Murat Sultanov has got his ears back. His Kessel Racing Ferrari, number 23, really getting going. Fastest lap of the race. He's now just 4 seconds down on Jens Reiner-Moller. Will he be able to pull onto their tails by the end of the race? Still got 23 minutes to do so, so if his tyres are good, they're certainly working very well at the moment, as Coach Mackenzie is trying to squeak all he can out of his Pirellis, but does not get up the inside there. Try as he might up to turn 4, through turn 5, he's still in 5th place. Not for want of trying. Jens Reiner-Moller, here comes Sultanov, catching the lead duo, and right now the lead duo are down to about a 1/4 of a second apart as they accelerate away from turn 8. Sultanov using the track, going all over most of the colours of the Italian tricolore down at turn 8. He is catching them. A little bit of a better exit would have been required out of turn 8, so he might have to do it all over again, but it's getting very close between 1st and 2nd. Jens Reiner-Moller, look, his black Honda right under the tail, about 3 car lengths back. That makes it look closer than it was, actually, the foreshortening effect down the back straight through turn 11. As you can see, when they got through the 2nd kink at 12, Jens had gained another car length, but we've seen this before from him, wide at turn 13. But it's really about how you take turn 14. Both of them take it in fairly tidy order, but all through the race, it's like Christian Hook is just unflappable. He has a line, he sticks to it. Jens Reiner-Moller is experimenting. He's looking left, he's looking right, he's going now tight, he's going wide. Looks like there's been no game between two of them. The big question is, has Murat Sultanov behind closed in? He was 4.8 seconds down on the race leader last time around. Waiting to see if it's come down. Let's see, I think it has come down a tiny bit, 4.5. So 0.3 of a second gain, good run, but it's not going to be enough at this rate of closing, surely, unless Jens Reiner-Moller can really start troubling Christian Hook. But as close as Dane has been, always the German racer at the head of the race seems to have the answers. Still a very good run from the Russian from Kessel Racing, Murat Sultanov. Murat's had he had a win in the early this year at Paul Ricard. He's had a 2nd place and a 3rd place at Monza, so it looks like he's heading for his 4th podium visit of the season. Yesterday had to make do with 4th place, about 5 seconds down on Mario Gordoni, but of course he's going to finish ahead of Gordoni today because Gordoni served that drive-through penalty. Gordoni catching Stephen Earl, but now 7.5 seconds down, but he's still down in 8th place. He'll be frustrated with that drive-through. And just to reiterate, it was for not getting the starting procedure correct. Something that's drummed into drivers time and time again, but when the red lights are on, sometimes not all sanity is prevailing. Malagamua, this has been a great race. 4th place overall, Dinanta Malagamua. Coach Mackenzie pushing hard. The last lap was far better for Malagamua, or in fact the early part of this lap, and now Coach Mackenzie's just starting to catch up. The middle sector for him has been his best crack at the middle sector. So it's far from a given. 1st to 2nd, oh, we've got a bit of traffic, bit of overtaking has just happened there. Howard Blank has been overtaken by the first 2. The next driver to go past the American racer in the number 56 Ferrari will be the driver in 3rd place overall, Murat Sultanov. 1st to 2nd, yet another shot of these cars running super close together. Where is any advantage going to be found? Up into turn 4, it's not being found, but certainly through turns 2 and 4. Oh, a little mistake there from Murat Sultanov off the circuit, but look how much closer it is. He's had far better run in the traffic. He's down to 2.6 seconds down on the race leaders now. His last lap of the race, both first 2 cars were compromised. They lapped more, longer than 1 minute 40. 1 minute 38.5 for the Russian. There he is, Sultanov, closing in that 23 Ferrari from Kessel Racing. I joked last time about him trying the 3 colours of the Italian tricolore. He ran through over the red, the white and the green on the exit of turn 8 there. Sultanov almost onto the tail of the Honda now. Wow, what a chase. It looks like the best he could hope for was 3rd. I thought he may approach approach catching them by the end of the race. I didn't think he'd do it so soon. Look, 19 minutes still to play. This could be a driver challenging for his second win of the year. Or is, at this point in the race, is Sultan taking too much out of his rubber. But if anyone's taken anything out of their rubber, you have to feel it's the driver in second place, because Jens Rinaldi has been pushing here, pushing there, pushing all the time, and taking his car out very wide in a quest for grip. And that could well have damaged his car. But then again, maybe the Honda sits more lightly on its rubber. We will see. It's a proper three-way battle now. It's 2.679 seconds first to third last time. Yeah, Christian Hook to Murat Sultanov, and it's 2.074, 6/10 of a second gained by the Russian as he gives chase. There we are, almost all in one camera shot. This could be the advantage that Christian Hook in the lead is waiting for, because he's been trammeled and troubled all race by Jens Rinaldi. And suddenly Jens might have to be defending rather than attacking, and that could give the German in the lead of the race just a little bit of respite. Oh dear, Coach McKenzie, 5th place, no more. He's had a spin. Just saw him being passed. That was Pavel Strukov whizzing past. In fact, Stephen Earle probably not that far behind. And that would also mean Mario Gordoni could be moving up. So Pavel Strukov, who had his spin earlier in the race, has gained a position to move up to 5th overall with that spin for Coach McKenzie. Coach should have been just on the tail of Dylan Tamala-Magua's blue Lamborghini. He is no more. That rotation dropped him back down the order, but the first three really are as three as they go down the back straight. Probably 2 seconds between all of them at the start, but that I think is possibly about the same. As they go through the fast kinks down towards turn 14, where they really have to hit the brakes. That's 13 there, 14 now. Again, running very, very wide. That was turn 15, final corner of the circuit. The left-hander to the start-finish straight. Who's widest over the curves? Fairly tidy from all three of them. I'd say possibly Christian Hook is the one leading. Well, he is leading the race, but he's the one who seems to just be totally calm at the wheel. He's not taking any risks. He's just running the line he wants to run. And Jens Rinaldi is just having to guess, and probe, and dig around and see whether he can find a chink in the armour. No chink has been found as yet. Gap between first and third now down to 1.8 seconds, so another good lap from the chasing Murat Sultanov. Mario Gordoni still down in 8th, still hasn't caught Stephen Earle. Recovering from that drive-through penalty. The gap between Earle and Gordoni is probably down to about 4.5 seconds. Let's just wait and see over the start-finish line. 4.7 seconds, so Gordoni going in, but a really good run from Stephen Earle. Yet resist him all the way to the end of the race. Murat Sultanov in the third car in that grouping, the black Ferrari from Kessel Racing with the red and yellow and green markings, will be observing Jens Rinaldi, who's taking totally different lines to Christian Hook at the front of the race. He'll be thinking, if he has to go wide there every lap, perhaps I could have a little dig up the inside, or if he's tight, I'll go round the outside. And suddenly, after having a race, a real proper race with Coach McKenzie, Dylan Tamala-Magua running 4th now. He was 4th at the time. The number 24 Lamborghini has not got company. Coach McKenzie ended up down in 6th after that spin. And here's Mario Gordoni down in 8th place overall, chasing after Stephen Earle. Do a few more laps until he gets onto the tail of the other red Ferrari. There's Coach McKenzie, Stephen Earle in behind. 6th and 7th for Gordoni. There's Gordoni, 51. Catching the pair of them, 6th, 7th and 8th. Well, there's wide, and there's the line that we just saw there from Mario Gordoni as 12 turn to 13. There's 2 fast kinks and the tighter turn 14, turn 15. Wider loop. First, second and third now, just 1.7 seconds between the three of them. Now it's the turn for Jens Rinaldi to look in his mirrors. Well, he wins the prize for the one-man went-to-mow competition. Out he went literally onto the grass on the exit of turn 8, just managed to haul it back onto the track, but now being troubled by Murat Sultanov. Christian Hook in the lead of the race, just being bought a tiny bit of breathing space there, but Sultanov clearly has got this Ferrari handling very much as he wants it. Entered by Kessel Racing and looking much closer this time down the kinked back straight. Number 23 Ferrari right on the tail now of the number 11 Honda. Sirena Racing Honda still in second. Starting to use an even wider line. Out of turn 14, the front end grip was not there at all for the Honda, and he had to wait to put the power down, ran a little bit wide. That gave an opportunity. And is that the passing manoeuvre? Let's see, was that 51? Yes. Mario Gordoni, I believe, just passed Stephen Earl. Was that 111? Let's wait and see. They were, yes, that will be. They were 1.8 seconds apart at the start of the lap. So up into 7th place now for Mario Gordoni, but still leading the Iron Cup class in behind Stephen Earl in the 111. There he is, the surgeon from Texas. Next runner in the Iron Cup class is 2 positions further back. That's Rick Lovett, but he's over half a minute down. So you'd have to say the drivers who had a little clash when fighting over the Iron Cup honours yesterday, fighting over the lead in class, are going to be very separated by the end of the race. .593 seconds the gap between Christian Hook in the green Rinaldi Racing Ferrari and Murat Sultanov in the Kessel Racing Ferrari, and the meat in the sandwich is indeed Jens-Reiner Muller. What's he got left for the final 12 minutes or so of this race? This time around, you say, well, maybe it's a wider line in. Is it tighter out? Yes, it is a tighter line out of the corner for the driver in 3rd place, Murat Sultanov. Will that give him more of a run? Will he be able to get on the tail of the Honda? No, he's about 8 car lengths behind this time. But what's happened on this lap? It's actually been a better lap through the middle section of the circuit for Jens-Reiner Muller. He's able to resume his attack on Christian Hook, and Murat Sultanov, well, maybe those laps that got him on the tail are now starting to pay the price, because he's starting to run wider than he was a few laps ago. Perhaps that's a sign the tyres are gone. Maybe it was just a few laps of taking it a little more easily for Jens-Reiner Muller to then refresh his tyres and renew his tack on the race-leading Christian Hook. But Christian just runs around in front. He was unflappable yesterday, even with the pressure coming on in the closing stages of the race, as Lee Mole got closer and closer before crashing out of that 2nd place right at the end of the race, bringing out the red flag. Yes, you can really sense the revival coming the way of Jens-Reiner Muller in the Honda. And then suddenly comes the attack, as if from nowhere. Turn 2, bang, into turn 3. So from unflappable to passed in the blink of an eye, again and again. We saw a slip up at turn 2 very early in the race from Jens-Reiner Muller. He got to 0.2 of a second away from the race leader, suddenly dropped back to half a second behind. This time he just, again, got a better run out of turn 2. And maybe there was a very slight mistake from Christian Hook. If it was the first one he's made all race, and not looking for a second offer. Through into the lead goes the Honda racer, so suddenly it's no longer Christian Hook. And are his tyres gone completely? Because suddenly, maybe he couldn't get the power down, maybe he didn't have the grip, but Murat Sultanov all over his tail. So 3rd could become 2nd for the Russian, and 1st has become 2nd for the previous race leader, Christian Hook. And is it going to be the most awful of laps for him? 11 minutes to go. He's back to 2nd. Jens-Reiner Muller into the lead of the race. Now, down the back straight, can he pull clear? No, very good exit from turn 10 from the Ferrari chaser. Christian Hook is 4 lengths down as they go up to the kink at turn 11. Looks like he got a better exit. So, what went wrong at turn 2? Looks all right on the front, washed away a little bit, but... And then a twitch. It was almost like he got a bit of a wobble. Maybe he didn't quite engage the gear he wanted. Didn't seem to have the acceleration. Car was unsettled, and in an instant, he was passed by Jens-Reiner Muller. So, now, Christian Hook was the hunted, now he's the hunter. What can he do? And he's got Murat Sultanov all over his tail in the number 23 Kessel Racing Ferrari. Over the curves they go at turn 16. The top 3 cars will be covered by about 1.5 seconds, I think, as they cross the start-finish line. This time it's the Honda in front for the first time in the race. 1.2 seconds the gap between the Honda in the lead and Murat Sultanov in 3rd place. This is the corner where all went wrong last time around for Christian Hook, and it went slightly wrong this time around for Murat Sultanov. Found himself very wide on the exit of turn 2, but he's carrying the speed now. He's looking left, he's looking right. What can he do at turn 4? Outside line, you tend to have diminishing returns there. Yes, indeed you do. And Christian Hook holds on to that 2nd place. Tighter line in through turn 6 for Murat Sultanov, made him wide on the exit, so he's lost momentum down the infield straight. Down to turn 8, biggest lead I think we've had all race, and it's now in the hands of the Honda racer, Jens-Reiner Muller. Pressure comes on Christian Hook in 3rd place. And what can he do? closer and closer in the battle for second, but now it's not the Honda in the middle, it's the Honda in the front. Breaking away, half a second clear on the start-finish line, and now Christian Hook, yes, there's definitely clear air between them, might even be as much as a second. Coach McCanty trying to regain ground. That's him passing Howard Blank, putting a lap on Howard Blank. And his fight back drive in the Lamborghini, but the rival Lamborghini, as Coach went out of turn 8, was exiting turn 10, so Delanta Malamagua has got the inter-Lamborghini battle in his pocket. 8.5 minutes remaining in the race. First, second and third, but it's first, pause, second and third. It's the first time we've had a lead. Is it going to go out to over a second? Just waiting. Anyhow, what we can see is a battle for second place. It's 1.5 seconds first to second, so indeed Jens Reiner Mullet making good his escape. And now contact coming at turn 2. It just seems, well, that's very unfortunate for Christian Hook, but he just seemed very ponderous through turn 2. I don't know what the problem is. The last few laps he lost the lead with a slow exit a couple of laps ago, and now, perhaps being cautious, caught out Murat Sultanov, who dived up the inside into a gap that didn't really exist. Well, it didn't exist at all. Tagged the tail of Christian Hook. Brown went to Ferrari. He's gone from first to third in just a couple of laps. Today's race 10 minutes longer than yesterday's, and maybe the pacing on the tyres has not been kind. He looked totally in control, really smooth. In the last few laps, he's just suddenly been dropping back, first into the grasp of the Honda, and was passed very easily between turns 2 and 3 by Jens Reiner Mullet. And now the insides are being spun around. Let's take a look. They're very tight. Second and third places. Christian Hook ahead through turn 1. All under control, into turn 2, wait, the blow up the rear. Was he slow in, or was Murat Sultanov just making a crazy dive? But either way, turn 2 has been a problem corner the last few laps. And for Christian Hook, he will end up on the podium unless there's any damage to his car. The dive was from about 4 car lengths back, no, maybe 3 car lengths back, accelerated between turn 1 and 2. Looked like a ponderous entrance to turn 2 for Christian Hook, and was torpedoed by Murat Sultanov. So the replay shows the assault. Round goes the Rinaldi for racing Ferrari, and through goes Murat Sultanov into second place in his Kessel Racing example. But we should have still third place in the hands of Christian Hook at the end of the lap. It hasn't come past yet. Gap between first and second between the leading Honda and the second place Sultanov is 4.7 seconds, and it's a huge gap back to Christian Hook, now down in third place. There he comes through. How much further behind? About another dozen, 15 seconds? 20 seconds is the gap between Sultanov and the recovering Christian Hook. Looked as though he had the race in the bag. Then we had Jens Reiner Mullet getting past. Drive-through penalty for car number 23 for causing a collision. I don't think there can be any argument about that. It wasn't, because if it was a case of Christian Hook just slowing, he wasn't slowing to the extent that someone can come from 3 car lengths back and dive into a gap that wasn't a door that wasn't even left half ajar. Yet Christian Hook was on the apex of the corner, turning in, albeit somewhat slowly, and then the thump from behind. Round went the German, and the Russian went through. He'll have a drive-through penalty, so Christian Hook will go back up to second place. Delanta Malamagua will work his way onto the podium, and I'd say the Sri Lankan really deserves to get up there in the top 3. He had a fantastic battle with Coach McCanty for lap after lap, and got the better of that. Then Coach had his spin. Turn 2 seems to be the problem corner in this race, and the driver who was assaulted, Christian Hook, will revert to second place overall. Here's Delanta Malamagua. Really good run for his HP Racing International Lamborghini. Sorry, Coach McCanty runs for HP Racing, and Delanta runs for Team HB Racing. Here we have it. HB, not HP, confusing myself. So, drive-through penalty for Murat Sultanov, who got his way up to second place. He's run a really good middle section of this race, but I think enthusiasm got the better of him there. Tipped the German into a spin, so it's a drive-through, it's not a stop and go, it's drive-through, do not speed. It's amazing how many drivers break the speed limit, the pit lane speed limit. And there goes Christian Hook down the start-finish straight into turn 1. Will now be turning into the corner where it all went wrong. There's turn 1, turning into turn 2. This is the point at which he was attacked. This was the point at which he spun. And he will be ahead, because wait, it's a long, long pit exit. Murat Sultanov, where will he be? Will Delanta Malamagua go through? I suggest he will, before the black, red, yellow and green Ferrari can accelerate. Oh, it's going to be very tight indeed. He'll be accelerating out of pit exit, but the Sri Lankan is through, so the blue Lamborghini's got 4.5 minutes to defend his newly won 3rd position. He's only got an advantage of about not even a second over Sultanov. There could yet be a change. Doesn't look as though there's going to be a change between first and second, because the gap between Jens Reno Muller and Christian Hook. 21 seconds is the gap. Can Malagamua hang on to his newly found third place? Sultan looking very, very busy behind the wheel, taking the wider line out of turn 8. Through the kink at turn 9, taking the tight line in, not too tight, so he doesn't have to go wide on the exit. But let's see who can get the power down better. The Lamborghini driver took the wider line but was on the power earlier, whereas taking the tighter line means you have to stay slightly off the throttle. But the Ferrari only, not even 2 car lengths behind as they go down the straight through the kink at turn 11. Who's going to be braver? God, you sense that a little bit of fury is in the cockpit with Murat Sultanov. He's driving very, very, very positively. It just doesn't brook any hesitation at all from Malagamua. Dives up the inside, did it through the kink at turn 13, had it done by 14, and is now going to pull away. Sultanov absolutely flying at this point in the race, having had that drive-through penalty. So he's already got past Malagamua. Where's Malagamua gone? He has disappeared backwards, having... Oh, well, he's got a gear change problem. He's drifting over the start-finish line. He's been overtaken by Coach McKenzie and Pavel Strukov. Oh, how cruel for Malagamua. Just as he got into third place, it would have been fantastic to see him on the podium. The world and his dog has gone past. And for Delanta, I'm afraid he's just going to be pulling off at turn 1 by the looks of things. He's turning into turn 1, but not sufficient amount of drive or right gear or any gear at all. Oh, how unfortunate. So Murat Sultanov, despite serving a drive-through penalty, has gone through. And Mario Gordoni, I'm trying to see where that will promote him to. He's up to 6th place. He was the one who served a drive-through penalty early on. There he is, car 51. He was right on the tail of Pavel Strukov. So McKenzie, Strukov, Gordoni covered by 1.5 seconds. That's 4th through to 6th. The order in this race keeps on changing. Oh, left the door. Someone opened there, Coach McKenzie. Pavel Strukov thought he'd have a go, compromise his own line through turn 8. Mario Gordoni's about to say thank you very much indeed. You got bowled for something you weren't close enough to consider. Took a crazy line down into turn 8. You were thinking ahead, not thinking about who's coming behind. I'm coming from behind, and there's Mario Gordoni trying to make it stick. The clock down to the final 2 minutes of this race. Jens Reno Muller fought so hard for the lead of the race with Christian Hook. Easily clear of him at the moment. And is heading for victory. What's going to happen behind me? Cannot guarantee the finishing order until we get to the checkered flag. Of that we can be sure. And for Anthem, Alamo, Guha down to 7th place, and well, he's already lost 16 seconds in the first sector of the 3 around the lap. May not even get round to the end of the lap. Just going out of turn 8 at trickle speed. Obviously determined to be on the track at the end of the race. So Malagamua was passed down between turns 12 and 13, those kinks. By 14, the move was done. He'd been overtaken by Murat Sultanov for that newly regained 3rd position. Oh, Mario Gordoni very close indeed to go out the inside of Pavel Strukov. And then between 14, 15 and the final corner, there may have been a gearbox problem, but didn't enter the pits, but cruised through the final corner. Everyone came past him on the start-finish straight and may not yet finish the lap. Pavel Strukov having to work very, very hard indeed. He had a spin early in the race. That's why he lost ground. Mario Gordoni was running 3rd, catching the first 2 runners, and then he had a drive-through penalty to serve for a start infringement. That's why he is down the order, looking one way, looking the other. Oh, using all the tricks in the books. He saw that Strukov was a little out of sorts at turn 8 last time around. Very clever gamble, but on the correct line to take the kink at turn 9. The inside line is where you want to be, but he's taking a tighter line into turn 10, and the wily Mario Gordoni be taking, yeah, the inside line didn't quite work, got the power down. So this battle for 4th place, it's Coach McKenzie from Pavel Strukov from Mario Gordoni. I think the order's about to change. Don't overtake into turn 11, there's not space. Strukov comes across the apex as he's absolutely entitled to do. So final lap of the race. We've got to the end of 45 minutes, and Malagamua just limping back to the pits. He's only got 2 more corners to go, but he could get to the checkered. Well, he's going to be ahead of the race leader, so he'll have to do another lap before the checkered flag. Mario Gordoni is far from finished, trying to go up the inside at turn 15, never serious, and unsettle his rival, the blue Ferrari, black and blue Ferrari of Pavel Strukov, still holding 5th place. Which of those are going to be ahead? Strukov, he's on the correct line, the inside line into turn 1, but Mario Gordoni's going to brave it out around the outside. Great move there from Gordoni, up into 5th place. With all his experience of Ferrari racing, it was always inevitable he was going to be more confident and able to go through. Jens Rino Muller, he fought hard, he fought relentlessly to hunt down Christian Hook. Made his way past, then Christian was assaulted by Murat Sultanov, and the gap back to the recovered Hook is 22 seconds at the moment, and Jens can afford to back off to take his 3rd win of the year. Won the first 2 races at the opening round at Monza, had a 2nd place and a 5th at Paul Ricard, 8th after 2 spins yesterday, but no mistakes that cost him any time at all today. A little twitch here, a little twitch there, was very bold with his lines early in the race, but is back on track big time. Waiting for the checkered flag. There is the checkered flag, so relief he's turned his weekend around. Christian Hook will be next, will be 20-something seconds back, nothing to play for because he's well clear of Murat Sultanov. That's Rick Lovett coming through, up to 8th place with the demise of Anthem Alamo Guha. Christian Hook comes through, he's backed off as well, but he'll be 20-something seconds back in 2nd place overall. Could have been his race, but he was hunted down and beaten fair and square. And here comes Murat Sultanov, the driver who gave Christian Hook a clout at the end of the race and had to serve his drive-through penalty accordingly. Lost 3rd place, got it back again with the demise of Anthem Alamo Guha. Coach McCancy comes through to 4th, Mario Gordoni hunting him down, but not able to catch him by the finish, and Pavel Strukov will come through to 6th place overall. Iron Cup honours from the very first lap of the race. Accelerated into the lead of the class. There he comes, Stephen Earle, another one in the bag for the American, who just loves his racing more than almost anybody else you ever see out on a circuit. Rick Lovett will take 2nd in the Iron Cup class, and Howard Blank will complete that podium. Here comes Howard in number 56, 9th overall, and Anthem Alamo Guha limped back, got his way to the pits. Sits there at the end of the race. He deserved more than that, but today belonged to Jens Rino Muller. He worked hard, very much a 2-part race for him. Hunt, the race leader, caught him, passed him, wanted a mistake out of turn 2, doesn't matter. The Honda racer grabbed the moment in an instant by turn 3, was in front and was never caught thereafter. So what a race today, race of intrigue, totally different complexion to yesterday afternoon's race. And I think a lot of the drivers here would have, well, all the drivers would have really enjoyed their time. Everybody had a scrap somewhere around the point on the circuit throughout the course of this 45-minute race. But for Jens Rino Muller, who started the season, great form in testing, brilliant form with those 2 wins in the opening round at Monza. And here, in the 2nd of the 2 races at Misano, there is confirmation. Victory by a whisker under 20 seconds ahead of Christian Hook, the driver who had his Ferrari in front for the first 2/3 of the race. Murat Sultanov gets the naughty boy badge, having spun Christian Hook, but was able to fight back after the drive-through to finish in 3rd place overall. Coach McCancy had that wonderful Lamborghini scrap with Anthem Alamo Guha, came out ahead by dint of a problem for Malagamua, who ended his race not finishing, parked in the pit lane. The pit lane, however, is a happy place for Jens Rino Muller because he's rediscovered his winning touch. He worked hard, that was a race he'd have enjoyed, playing the chaser and then breaking clear. And then all competition from behind was removed with that spin. But I would suggest at that point, Jens already had this race in the bag. He gained the lead and was enjoying, probably looking in his rearview mirror, seeing Christian Hook and Murat Sultanov have their scrap, and then was just probably too far ahead to see the fact they weren't there anymore, to see the incident. But patting the windscreen of his Honda, he's worked hard this year to get this Honda NSX into great form, and yeah, very, very pleased with life indeed. Greeting his crew. Job done. Now he can enjoy the rest of the day's racing, probably from the rooftop, looking down on all the action. You can see a lot of the circuit here, but he'll be having a big lunch, I'm sure. The Danish driver having a cracking season in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. He came here as the points leader, picked up only a handful of points yesterday, but has now extended his lead with his 3rd win of the 2019 season. Rinaldi racing Ferrari, yesterday's winning car. Christian Hook drove a good race, but he had a far sterner challenge today. Maybe the Honda racer liking the fact track conditions weren't too crazy. But let's go down, and here Dakota has caught up with the race winner, Jens Rino Muller.
Bruce, as you said, the pit lane is a very happy place right now. For this gentleman right here, congratulations, what a race that was.
Thank you very much, yeah. I was really patient. For the last couple of races. I've done stupid mistakes, made the driver mistakes, spun and so on. We just showed today we have the pace to be in the front of the GT Sports Club.
You've really done a good job to get this car going this season.
Yeah, it's a big job for Honda and Yas, and all the support from Yas is very, very important and make me confident. And last night we have a serious talk about my driving behavior, so I should be patient.
Today is good, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dakota. Today I was good. I suppose if he'd been bad, he'd have to give himself a kicking, but he can now give himself a pat on the back. Great run there from Jens-Reiner Mullet. You saw him experimenting with lines, but it was the fact he was able always to just go back onto the tail of Christian Hook that suggested the speed was there, but it's not always easy to find a way past, and certainly for any passing manoeuvre here at Misano, you have to work hard. Let's take a look at the start. Christian Hook leading away against Reiner Mullet in the Honda, having to tuck him behind. Already by the first turn, they dropped Mario Gordoni, then Coach McKenzie and Murat Sultanov getting very close together. Murat Sultanov eventually sorting his way up the order. But for that, and then a little spin, unfortunately, for Pavel Strukov, but a great battle brewing between the Lamborghinis of Coach McKenzie and Delanta Malamagua. And then a spin for Howard Blank, a wide line taken by Rick Lovett in avoidance. But it was the battle between the Ferrari and the Honda at the front of the race that kept adding intrigue. Drive-through penalty for Mario Gordoni, that dropped him to the tail of the pack. But look, a sudden little mistake, a twitch there, but the power wasn't going down for Christian Hook. He lost ground, he lost position, he lost even more ground and position when he was spun by Murat Sultanov. Sultanov had to serve a penalty, and the number 23 Ferrari came out just behind Delanta Malamagua, got past with aplomb between turns 12 and 13, but Muller had it all under control, sweeping through turn 16 for the 28th and final time to see the checkered flag. He'd been patient, he'd saved his tyres. Victory today. So let's take a look at the points. 22 points clear now of Murat Sultanov. So Murat Sultanov keeps scoring points, but Jens-Reiner Mullet has learnt some lessons this weekend, rediscovered his winning form. Mario Gordoni would have lost a bit of ground. That drive-through penalty did not help. Coach McKenzie, more constant points in the bag. And for Lee Mole, challenging for yesterday's win, came away in second place with his car parked in the pit wall, didn't start today, so he's tumbled down to 5th place overall. But Christian Hook, straight up to 6th, joined the championship this weekend and has made it work for him very, very quickly indeed. So a warm day turning into a hot day at Misano World Circuit, waiting for the podium ceremony for the Blancpain GT Sports Club. 2 races in 2 days, 2 different sets of conditions, and here's the Titanium Cup honours. So Coach McKenzie leading the way. Lee Mole lost the lead in that by not starting today. Delanta Malamagua lost a good handful of points by not finishing today's race, when it looks as though he's heading for 3rd place overall, which would have been a phenomenal result for the Sri Lankan, but unfortunately some glitch in the car caused him to slow right at the end. Cars already starting to come out towards pit lane for the next event, but leading the Iron Cup class, the class for drivers aged 60 upwards, Stephen Earle at a canter. Louis Philippe Sonnen 2nd place, but didn't get to do more than 1 lap in the race. Electrical problems stranded him in the pit lane. Rick Lovett has moved very close in that battle for 2nd place. He had a good run through to 2nd place in class today. So to the top 3, the spoils and 3 sets of trophies. We have overall Titanium and Iron Cup honours to be presented. And I'm sure we'll see, well, we heard in the interview with Dakota down there that relieved and rejuvenated in so many ways. Jens-Reiner Mullet won those first 2 races at the opening round, hasn't won since. 2 spins yesterday. Considered his driving overnight, clearly paid dividends this morning here at Misano. Drivers being gathered up, taken around the back of the pit building to go up in the lift towards the podium and the ceremony. I suggest some are already up there. Howard Blank going through. He's picked up the points for 3rd place in the Iron Cup class. I can see him arm over the shoulder of a rival and a fellow competitor. And as with almost all the drivers in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, good friends too. They enjoy their racing, come from all around the world to play in this and race on some fantastic circuits. I mean, what's not to like about starting a season with a pair at Monza, a pair at Paul Ricard, and now a pair here on the Adriatic coast at Misano. There is the winning car from Reno Racing, and it was interesting to hear the praise that Jens-Reiner Mullet gave to JAS Racing. That's the Italian team that has developed the Honda NSX for racing in GT3. So assistance always received with open arms, and particularly when you're running a car that's different to the bulk of your competitors. You need as much experience and feedback and tech as you can possibly get. Listen to the advice, understand what the engineers are telling you, and then go out and put it into practice. So having listened, he's clearly learned very well indeed. Learnt the vagaries of the MISANO circuit. It's a tricky circuit, almost constantly cornering, and then you've got those fast kinks down the back straight, but clearly found very much the sweet spot. But anybody who can beat Christian Hook in a Ferrari 488 from Rinaldi Racing is doing very well indeed, because Christian knows the cars, he knows this circuit, and it's a real marker. It'd be interesting to find out why, in fact, Christian had this problem at turn 2, but Jens Sirena wasn't waiting for a second invitation. Stephen Earle closest to camera. He knows his way to a Blancpain GT Sports Club podium. He's the one drying his head, cooling down. Not as hot as yesterday, but still very hot out in the cockpits, and the temperature rising all the time at the MISANO World Circuit. And he's ever the gentleman. He's helping to dry off the race winner, Jens Sirena there. So Pavel Strukov called out onto the podium. 777. Christian Hook coming out. New set of overalls today. Black Pearl Racing on his back and his front. He's happy with life. Second and a first. But Jens Sirena much happier with himself today. Victory today. So out come the trophies for the overall top 3. Murat Sultanov in 3rd place, Christian Hook in 2nd place, receiving his trophy from Andrea Albani, and the winner's trophy, quite a sizable trophy there for the race winner, for Jens Sirena. That's the 3rd of those he's picked up this year. Quite a collection the Dane is forming. Plenty of smiles all round, satisfaction. Good race for all of them. Murat Sultanov will be probably a little frustrated with his move. And now, of course, the champagne, and after you've finished your weekend's racing, you can really let rip before you send your suit off to the dry cleaners. So, first of many sprays of champagne up on the podium here at the MISANO World Circuit. Race day Sunday, after a fantastic full day of qualifying and racing yesterday. Went all the way through to the dark last night when the circuit was under floodlights for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo race. So full 2 days of racing here at MISANO, and that was a really good starter to race Sunday. So that's it for the Blancpain GT Sports Club runners for their visit to the MISANO World Circuit. We're looking very much forward to the next race. 2 different winners, great fun all round. That's it from me, Bruce Jones. Join us for the next round.